Hey everyone, my name is Matt and welcome to Truckin and Talking episode 8. Yes, it has been a while since I made one of these videos. Various different reasons, really real life, and the main reason is that I don't make these videos too often is pretty much just because I don't really like editing, and it's quite a bit of, well, it isn't a lot of work, it just takes a lot of time for the video to render and upload, all this sort of thing, but I might just have a solution for that now. But we'll get into that a little bit later in the video or in another video. But anyway, today in this video I was taking bricks, and I started in Le Mans in France and take them to Newcastle upon Tyne, and I resumed the trip in south of England, not too far away from London I don't think. So yeah, and this is a Saizu, Sai truck. I don't know how you really pronounce the name, never heard of it. I thought this mod, because it was a very small file size on the mod site, I thought, oh, it's going to be terrible, you know, because usually when they don't have a lot of quality in them, the mods can be very small. This was only like 50 meg, so I thought, oh, this is going to be terrible, but no, it's actually alright. I kind of like it. It's one of the better trucks I've driven. It sounds alright, drives pretty well, it has decent acceleration and all that sort of thing, so I overall I like it generally. And a couple of things have changed since I last played your truck. One is ownable trailers, which in this video those bricks were on a ownable trailer with a crane, which were added in the latest update, along with more realistic physics. Now the only thing about these more realistic physics is they're not enabled by default. What you have to do is in your console you have to enable 3 different settings, and what I will do, if you want a video in more details, try and remember to link a video in the description down below as to how to actually do this. But for those of you that can just sort of follow verbal instructions, you press the tilde key on the keyboard and you open up the console. You have to put in 3 commands: G underscore trailer stability, set that to 0, G underscore truck stability and set that to 0, and I think the other one, I forget exactly what it is, but it's something like G underscore truck underscore suspension stability, I believe, or it might be truck and trailer suspension stability. But as I say, I'll link to the video if you want more detail on how to do it, but I would highly recommend doing it if you have a wheel. Not really if you have a keyboard, but if you have a wheel, do this. It makes your physics a lot more realistic. The truck leans when it should. When you accelerate, it kind of goes up and down and this sort of thing, and obviously you can't really feel this as such in your force feedback if you don't have a motion sim, but you know, generally it's a lot more realistic. But anyway, I'm gonna get into what the purpose of the video is, which is the topics. So the first topic is about SpaceX. And as always, all these articles from Ars Technica. If you ever have any topics you'd like me to talk about, just link me to the article in the video description. I'd be more than happy to talk about it. But anyway, as I say, all of these articles are from there. So this is about SpaceX, and it basically says, after 26 straight successes, which is quite a few, SpaceX fails to land the Falcon 9 it wanted back. Some landing systems are not redundant. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is they've been fairly successful in this. So, you know, I'm not surprised they had a failure at one point or another. It's surprising that honestly they haven't had more. But anyway, this basically says something unexpected happened after the launch of a Falcon 9 rocket to the International Space Station. The first stage booster did not come back to Earth as intended. Instead, it made an unscheduled landing in the Atlantic Ocean just off the Florida coast. At about 7 minutes and 25 seconds after the launch, the first stage began to spin out of control and descended back towards the Kennedy Space Center along the Florida coast. There was a problem with one of the grids. Fins were used to stabilize the first stage during its return to Earth through the thickening atmosphere. The grid fin hydraulic pump stalled, so the Falcon landed just out to sea. SpaceX founder and lead designer Elon Musk tweeted shortly after the rocket landed, appears to be undamaged and is transmitting data. Recovery ship dispatched. Later in response to the question about the redundancy of the system, Musk added pump is single string. Some landing systems are not redundant, as landing is considered ground safety critical, but this is not mission critical, which I don't entirely get, but okay. Given this event, we will likely add backup pumps and lines. And if you go onto this article, you have a couple of different videos here from Twitter, and I think one is from the NASA YouTube channel or something, or SpaceX YouTube channel. So it continues on. Despite the landing problem, the rocket completed its primary mission, which I think is honestly, by common sense, the most important thing. With electricity. I have no idea how to say that word, and you'll come across that with me more than once if you're new to these videos, so no surprise there. After its launch Wednesday afternoon from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, the first stage delivered the Dragon spacecraft in orbit. The vehicle deployed its solar panels on schedule and appears to be on course for the rendezvous with the International Space Station later this week. The Red Dragon is carrying 2.5 tons of cargo. Since the extended period of the trial era in the mid-2010s, SpaceX has a remarkable run of successes with landing rockets, which, by the way, they're the first people to ever do that. And generally Elon Musk has changed the space industry. The last landing failure of a Falcon 9 rocket, the company to return to the coast, or an ocean-based drone ship, occurred on June 15, 2016 during a mission to satellites to geostationary transferred orbit after launching its heavy payload. The rocket ran out of fuel just before it touched down on the drone ship. Since then, the company has had 26 successful landings of the first stage rocket in the Falcon 9 rocket. And finally, just says, as usual, engineers from SpaceX will assess the problem and look for a fix. So my thoughts on this: I don't particularly think this is a big deal. As it says, they've had 26 successes. So if this means 1 out of 26 or 1 out of 100, that's really nothing. And at the end of the day, they'll learn from it. They always do at SpaceX. Elon is willing to learn. He's not like the government bureaucracy like NASA that doesn't only wants to hear what they want to hear. And overall, I think it's fine. I don't think it's as big a deal as some people are making it out to be, personally. But say what you will about him, Elon Musk has completely changed the space industry. So that's the only topic I've got on science this week. So next one's about tech, and this is about Google. Yeah, I know, we all love Google, don't we? Google, to simplify messaging strategy, will only support 5 messenger apps, and these are Messages, Google Voice, Google Duo, Hangouts Chat, and Hangouts Meet. So not even Google Hangouts can be supported anymore, which is interesting. This isn't a long article either, particularly. If I can even speak, in a post on its official blog, Google laid out the simplified messaging strategy for the future in order to offer customers a simpler and more unidentified communication experience. I'm not even sure if I said that word correctly. Google promised to only support 5 messaging apps going forward, down from its current suite of 7. To cut down to 5 apps, Google will eventually shut down Hangouts and Google Allo. that's brilliant, that name. While Messages, Hangouts Chat, Hangouts Meets, Duo, and Google Voice will continue to be supported. Google's announcement of the quadruple app strategy comes from the heel of its reports from 9 to 5 Google, which claimed that Google Hangouts would shut down sometime in 2020. Google's Scout Johnston, a product leader for Google's 7 messaging apps, responded to the report on Twitter, calling it shoddy reporting. Well, there's a lot of shoddy reporting out there, so how's that a surprise? And saying it's only half the story. While Google plans to shut down Hangouts eventually, Johnston said that Google is opening up 2 of its enterprise-only messaging apps, Hangouts Chat and Hangouts Meet, to consider user base, and users of Hangouts would be transitioned to these 2 apps. The blog reiterated the classic Hangouts would eventually be shut down, while Hangouts Chat and Hangouts Meet would be opening up. But Google won't shut down Hangouts until it can ensure a smooth transition between apps. The Post also announced that Allo, which has its development paused earlier this year in favour of Messages, will be shut down in March 2019. When they are shut down, Allo I can't laugh when I can't not laugh and say that. And Hangouts will join Google Talk, Google Spaces, Google Wave, Google Plus, Messenger and Google Buzz in a graveyard of former Google messaging apps. Hangouts is Google's longest running messaging service and has over 1 billion installs on Android alone. It's only Google's messaging service that supports instant messaging, MNS, video calls and voice calls, and with clients on Android, iOS, the web, inside gmail.com, and on a desktop via a Chrome extension. Such a wide and comprehensive figure set, Hangouts will leave a little room for Google's other messaging product. While Hangouts is shut down, Google can better diversify its messaging across the user base with 5 remaining apps, I guess. We're excited by the progress we've made with our communications experience. This is what Google say. Over the past 5 years, the company said. And by refocusing Messenger and Duo apps for customers and Hangouts Chat and Hangouts Meet for the collaboration team, we're focused on delivering a simpler and more identified communication experience for all of you. Okay, so my question here really is, what's wrong with what they currently have? Why are they trying to bring this down? Is it to perhaps save money? Because I feel like when this has been done before with other firms, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure I could name them if I thought about it. When they've done stuff like this, it's because they want to make stuff supposedly better, but it ends up making it worse, let's be honest. I can't really think of a firm that's done something like this that people said afterwards, yeah, I'm really happy they did that. I feel like this is probably going to result in a lot of anger from people for various different reasons, and chances are probably going to be in a worse off position than ever. But let's be honest, Google, as big as it is not going to listen to people unless absolutely everyone was up in arms about it, which, well, let's be honest, they won't be, will they? Some people are just going to accept it, others will just stop using it, and others, they'll be the ones that just complain but don't bother to do anything about it. But I don't know, I suppose they have the best of intentions, which makes it okay if they screw up. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm being the S word there, but yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next tech article I have. About Apple, and I'm not a big Apple fan. I think a lot of the bad stuff they do is really bad, and that they're greedy and they only care about money and nothing else. But I suppose this isn't trucking and ranting, so I'll go on into that. Apple anticipates EGG app rolls out today in watchOS 5.1.2. Now, I don't have an Apple Watch, so I'm reading this entirely off of what it's saying, not off any experience, which, yeah, I know that's the best position to be coming from, right? Yeah, but that seems like that's what a lot of people do on the internet these days. So when I say these days, that makes me sound so old, does it not? Anyway, the newest update for Apple Watch is out today. I think this article was written, I mean, when I'm reading this is the 12th of December. I'm not sure when this was written exactly, but maybe the 6th of December, so about a week ago. But that's when I'm recording this. You probably won't see this on the 12th of December, or not likely. I don't know when you'll see this, to be fully honest with you, but that's not the point. The newest update for Apple Watches is out today, bringing a highly anticipated feature to the Series 4 devices. Apple pushed out the watchOS 5.1.2 today, which includes its ECG app for monitoring irregular heartbeats. Apple Watch Series 4 devices have all built-in electrodes that can measure electrocardiograms or ECGs at the time of Watch's debut in September, Apple's native app with which the electrodes communicate wasn't ready for consumer use. Now it's rolling out as part of that update. The ECG app, I'll be able to say that eventually, is for the watch itself. The ECG app, there you go, data gets stored in Apple's Health app on iOS devices. Taking an ECG reading, users must place their finger on the flat side of the digital crown on their Series 4 watch. The electrode on the digital crown communicates with the other electrode on the watch, which sits near the heart rate monitor, to take a complete ECG measurement. The process takes about 30 seconds to complete, and then the watch will show you the measurement as waveform along the screen, along with its explanation of what it means. Apple designed to detect irregular heartbeat rhythms, which could be a sign of arterial fibrillation. But even with the Series 4 FDA clearance tag, neither the watch nor Apple's ECG app are allowed as diagnostic tools. Thank God. And they won't replace a doctor's visit. The ECG features are meant to allow users to take more control over health and provide more background information to their doctors. The Health app even allows users to export their data as a PDF so it can be more easily given to the doctor. Or their doctor. The Apple Watch Series 4 stood out among previous models competing smartwatches thanks to the ECG features, the new fall detection feature with the updated accelerometer in the Series 4. Those watches can now detect when its wearer has fallen, notified loved ones in emergency services where they cannot do that themselves. And then it basically just talks about all the other things it's added. Nothing really massive I can see here. Something about notifications, this app and other stuff. Now, I think that this article makes an important point, that anyone that buys this, they have the potential, which is why they have to say it, they're going to use this instead of their doctor, which means potentially they'll think they have a heart problem when they don't, and it'll tell them perhaps that you don't have an irregular heartbeat, and all of a sudden, but they feel like they have the symptoms, but they don't believe themselves, they believe the watch, and then what ends up happening then? They end up being, well, potentially in the worst case, found, dead on the floor, and it was all the fault of their watch, and then come the lawsuits, and then, well, who knows what could happen then. So, yeah, it is quite important. I think they make it clear to people that you cannot use this for, use this in an alternative for the doctors. I feel like 99% of people will realise that, but the 1% that won't will be a very loud minority that will say, I don't need the doctor anymore, I'll just use the watch. In another way, I've given up thinking now altogether. This device thinks for me. I don't need to think anymore ever again. You realise the irony in that? But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. So I guess, Apple continues to make their billions and all that sort of thing. Alright, so what's my next article? My next article is about cars. There's a few articles here about cars. The Bloodhound SSC. How do you build a car capable of 1,000 miles an hour? Now, I'm a big fan of cars, as you may or may not know. A really big fan of cars, as well as computers and stuff. But I also been to various different car museums in this country, like the Bewley Motor Museum, which is a pretty famous one, and the Coventry Transport Museum, and Gaydon, and this sort of thing. So, I'm a big fan of cars and car history, and the history of high-speed cars is very interesting to me. Now, this article does have an update, and I'll just read you this update. It says it's Thanksgiving weekend in the US. That was obviously a few weeks back now. So many staffers are working through leftover instead of to-do lists. And with recent news, one of the most interesting land speed engineering projects around is experiencing funding issues just after a year after test ran and hit 210 miles an hour. We're resurfacing the risk profile of the Bloodhound SSC. The initiative boils down to the single question: how do you build a car capable of setting a new land speed record on the far side of 1,000 miles an hour? The The story originally ran on from March 2014. So it starts off by saying human beings achieved many firsts in the 20th century. We climbed the planet's highest mountains, dived the deepest undersea trench, flew over faster than the speed of sound, and even escaped it altogether to visit the moon, beyond visiting Mars. It may feel like there are not many more milestones left to reach, yet people are still trying to push the envelope, even if they have to travel a little further to get there. Richard Noble is one such person. He spearheaded a project called Bloodhound SC that will visit uncharted territory on its way to the new land speed record on the far side of 1,000 miles an hour. The idea is of a car capable of 1,000 miles an hour might sound ludicrous at first blush, but Noble's credits the British businessman is responsible for the previous land speed record in 1983 and 1997, which I can't even say this, and 1997, the first of which came with him behind the wheel. And then they have a brief history of land speed records, and this is quite a long article in general, and I won't go over the whole history as such, but this briefly sort of started in the early 20th century, and something called the Bluebird, which was pretty darn fast for its time, and if you want to read in more detail you can on this article. But essentially, if we go down, it basically talks about the Bloodhound SC, because if I sat here talking about the whole thing, I'd be here for the rest of the video. So it says a number of factors appear to be necessary for the land speed record attempt. A car with a sufficiently powerful engine, a suitable location, and someone motivated to raise the money to make it happen. A little bit of competition helps with the last of these. Breedlove, Green, and Arfan spurred each other in the 1960s, and it was the Breedlove going supersonic that sparked Frost SC. As you might expect, completion was also the original impetus behind Bloodhound SSC. Noble learned that Steve Fossett was planning the land speed record attempt, the ballooning adventure that brought the spirit of America from Breedlove in 2006, and he set his sights on 900 miles an hour. Noble needed a new car incorporated in the lessons learned from Frost 2 and SSC. And the next thing is about what makes the car go, and this ends up being a really long article. So I don't really know what else I'll read here. I mean, the key to any land speed record, guys, the engine. Duh. And Bloodhound SSC are no exception, rather than depend on decades-old surplus. Noble and Green approached the UK government to see if they could help, which we thought we'd earned the right to do this properly with right technology. The Ministry of Defence agreed on the condition that Bloodhound SSC be exciting enough a project to rekindle the interest in science and technology that Apollo or Concorde created in the 1960s and 1970s. In return for the inspiring a new generation of engineers, Bloodhound SSC could have the EJ200 jet engine that's often more found in the Eurofighter Typhoon, which, if you've ever seen, is a crazy aircraft that is if you've ever seen it on Top Gear, it beat a Bugatti Veyron. That's how powerful it is, by going up in the air a mile and then coming right back down. So it's a pretty darn powerful thing. And it continues on talking about that. It talks about the concept, about the fuel rockets, and interestingly enough, it kind of continues on. It says again, how do you build a car capable of 1,000 miles an hour? It talks about it having 2 engines. I think there's an artist impression here of the Bloodhound SSC, and it says, what are they going to do to drive 1,000 miles an hour? Finding a stretch of land long enough, flat enough, the Bloodhound SSC was not particularly simple. Bonneville and Salt Flats were out, For us, 2 solid wheels had to cut hard into rock-salt crust, so each one would require the team to mark out a fresh track. Both of the Bloodhound SSC's solid wheel predecessors, I can't even speak now, predecessors ran the some track I can't pronounce in a desert to good effect, but Black Rock 2 was ruled out. And player service degraded by years of heavier use. Burning Man, take a bow. Wherever the team handpicked to have pans of smooth flat land at least 12 miles long and 3 miles wide, it can't afford to rain or flood. The last thing the project wants is to spend time and effort and money to travel out back and not have a result. The car and crew, lots of boxes and stuff will be shipped to the team's Bristol UK headquarters. The site can't be too remote and belong to people who don't want them there. Well, yeah, you wouldn't want people saying, oh, I don't want a 1,000-mile-an-hour car here, but you know, that's about it really. I mean, there's a lot more you can go into here, but that's pretty much all I have time for. I don't really have time to go for another article because we're almost out of time on the video. Only got a couple of minutes left, which is pretty much me just parking the trailer and stuff. But anyway, I really hope you enjoyed. I will try and make these more regularly now, as I'm gonna I am gonna have someone edit them for me. So they should be a bit better quality than when I did them and that sort of thing. But anyway, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you want to, if you like the video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and then after that click the bell icon, otherwise you won't receive any notifications at all, which is kind of dumb, really. I mean, you'd think, why else would you subscribe to a channel? You subscribed to a channel because you wanted to know when stuff was made. But yeah, that's what you gotta do now. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell icon so you get notifications. And also, if you want to support the videos financially, click on the donate button or the link to the donate site below the video, fill in all the details and stuff, and submit a donation of any kind. Any bit is appreciated, but absolutely not necessary. But it definitely helps. Every little helps, as Tesco say. Or is it Sainsbury's? I think it's Tesco. But yeah, so there's that. And if you have any suggestions for the videos, anything like that, anything you want me to talk about, leave it down in the comments below. And I appreciate you as always. And until next time, bye for now.